Okay. Right, so we're continuing in the Maamar, harאת לדעת. harאת לדעת. And the Rabbi is explaining that on Mount Sinai, the Jews received the dew of the Torah. Tal Torah. And this dew of the Torah is what's going to, is the power to raise the dead. And the Jews all received this at Mount Sinai. And that's what King David hinted at in his Psalm 68, when he said that a generous rain you gave, God, to the Jewish people when they were weak. You strengthened them. So the Rabbi asked the question, 1 minute, dew is not rain. And why did King David hint at this dew, D-E-W, that the Jewish people got, which will enliven the dead? Why did he hint at it by saying it's a generous rain? And then the Rebbe started to explain the difference between rain and dew. And obviously we're talking about physical rain and physical dew, but also what the implications that says spiritually. Rain is something that we have to work for. Rain is something that comes from below to above. And by means of our prayers, another place it says, let the creations break the backs of their necks, and then rain will come. Yarov kamatar likhi. People have to break their necks. What do you mean break their necks? Instead of putting the backside of them to me, they have to break that and put the front side to me, says God. They have to break that, and only when the Jewish people really change, or I guess this refers to all mankind, but especially the Jewish people, then does rain come down. And we all know there's a whole Talmud, there's a whole tractate about Ta'anit, fasts, that we have to, if there's no rain, then we make fasts. The drought continues, so we make more fasts and more fasts. Which is not the case. Dew is something that comes automatically. It says dew does not depend on us. That's the reason why the force that enlivened all the Jews, that brought all the Jews back to life and basically ended death in the whole world. If the Jews wouldn't have worshipped the golden calf 40 days after the Torah was given, as no one would die. So it's this amazing blessing that there'll be eternal life. This is likened to dew, because dew is something which is totally in the hands of God. It occurs whether we deserve it or whether we don't deserve it. And the Rebbe is going to talk about this, that basically means that every Jew is going to raise up in the raising of the dead. He'll talk about this in the end of the Maamar.
Did I put up the correct Maamar?
This is it. No, that's the previous Maamar that we learned. That's the previous one. Now we're learning another. Oh no, it's not. Also not the previous one that we learned. That's the name, same name as the previous one. But the Maamar we're learning now is also from Tafshin Mem Vav. Yes, but it's called harאת לדעת. Okay, good. We're just going to turn on the air conditioner. It's a bit stuffy in the room. All right. Okay, I think that we got up to Daled. I think we're up to paragraph Daled. V'zeu, is this it? No, that's not the Maamar. That's not the Maamar that we learned. That's the Maamar Harאת לדעת, and we didn't learn this Maamar. We learned a different Maamar. We learned Harāt לדעת, Tavshin Mem Tet. Right. It's the Maamar. So you have to look again. The Maamar is called Harāt לדעת. Okay, let's go. Harāt לדעת. We're now on the fourth paragraph. V'zeu, that's what it means. Yarov kamatar likhi. Tizal katal imrati. This is how the poem Ha'azinu begins in the Torah portion of the same name, Ha'azinu. Yarov, come, let drip down like rain my teaching. Tizal katal should also drip like dew my words. Kashem sheyesh beis elu, just like these, there are these two aspects of how God relates to the world through the Torah, the blessings of God. Either they can come down by means of our work or not. This is not whoever is in the control of this. This is the previous Maamar that we learned. What you have now up on the screen, this is the previous Maamar that we learned, not the one that we're learning right now. The one that we're learning right now is called Harāt לדעת. And it's of the year Tavshin Mem Vav. All right. You can take this Maamar that we have here off if you want. All right, so what do we say? Dew comes automatically without our work, and rain we have to work for. So this is two types of blessing of God that comes down into the world. One is totally in the hands of God without our participation at all. And the other one is a partnership. We work and God replies. That's rain. Rain is we work and God replies. The language of Chassidic, the language of Kabbalah, it's called eteruta dilatata, an arousal from below. When we do something, it's called an arousal from below. Let's do this here, 1 second. There we go. It's called an arousal from below. This Maamar that you have here, I don't know, can I convince anybody to change it? There we go, there we go. This is it, you got it. Wonderful. Okay, good. See now if I can get myself back here. All right, this. So what's on the screen is what everybody sees, yes? Okay, now go to, please, paragraph 4. Paragraph 4, that's what it means, Ya'arov kematar likhi tizal katal imrati. That's what it means, let drip like rain my teaching. Let also drip, another word for drip, like dew my words. These are two levels of the blessing you get when you learn the Torah. One is called eteruta de la eila. See the parentheses? This is called an arousal from above. And shechet, which is drawn down, which is a reaction by means of eteruta de la tata, our work down here, our arousal from below. That's rain. And then there is eteruta de la eila, an arousal from above, shelamayla, which is higher than eteruta de la tata, anything that we can do from below. That's like dew. In the blessings of God in general, there are two, just like there are in the two blessings of God in general, that God does things, he can do miracles alone, or he can do miracles because we pray for them. Similarly, Yeshnam Beis Inyanim Elu, there are these two things in Torah. Like it says in the sentence that he just brought from Deuteronomy, Likhi Imrati, my teaching and my words. The Inyan Shefa Ha'or, this idea of light, godly light of the Torah, Hanikar, which is called matar, which is called rain, Hu Bechinat Chitzoniut, this is external of the Torah. Niglish Torah, the outside of the Torah. What does it mean, the outside of the Torah? The part of the aspect of the Torah that does not directly point you to God. The outside of the Torah tells you what to do, deals with the outside of yourself, what to do, what to say, what to think, right? What commandments to do. That's called the outside of the Torah. This is drawn down by the outside of the Torah. This is drawn by Nimshach al yedei avodat Adam v'yagia to Adam. This is drawn down, the blessing which comes from the outside of the Torah, the revealed part of the Torah, or if you want to call it the religious part of the Torah, the normal part of the Torah, right? The actions that we do, what we're supposed to say blessings here, like from the Shulchan Aruch. That's you want to call it the ritualistic aspect of the Torah. Even that's sort of not a nice word, but that's what it is. These are holy rituals, of course. Right? They're holy, they're dictated by the Creator himself, but nevertheless, it's the external part of the Torah. This is the external part of the Torah. There is a reaction from God when we do the external part of the Torah. That is a more external reaction of God. Like it says, Yagati umatzati tamin. Like it said, if a person tells you that they worked at the Torah and God gave them a blessing, then believe it's true. The mizeh, moving from this, it's understood, Zemitzia, nimderet, that this blessing that God gives a person when he learns the Torah, which is called like finding something. It's like a big novelty, gives him abilities he didn't know he had, but it is according to the type of work that he did. This is a type of a blessing that if you don't work, you don't receive. Hagam Shemavur, even though it explains in another place, She'inyan Mitzia, that this idea, it says, Yagati Matzati. It says, if I work at Torah, then I will find success. Why does it say find success? Matzati. It should have said that if you work at Torah, you'll succeed. Finding, because a person finds something, it's not exactly commensurate to the amount of effort that he puts into it. You walk down the street, you find a wallet. It could be in that wallet is $5. It could be that there's $1 million. Right? It could be an unmarked wallet, and inside of the unmarked wallet is $1 billion. You don't know. You have no way of knowing. Right? Inside of his diamonds, well, who knows what it is? So that's what's called a matzia, something like the lottery. The lottery. You find a wallet, it might not be yours, but you win the lottery. You win the lottery, $200 million, $1 billion. What did you do? You filled out a little paper and you put that's it, you put your name. You won this lot. That's called a matzia. That's called a matzia. You found it. You discovered. People would go and they would dig, they would discover gold. Right? They would work for a month, for 2 months, and they would discover diamonds. What does it mean, discover diamonds? A normal person works at a job and he earns, 2 months. How much money does a person earn in 2 months' work? $1,000, $2,000. This person works for 2 months and he makes $100 million because he finds, it's called the mitzia, of find something. So it says that if you work, yagati matzati, and that you find success. Why does it find? It's a motzei atababderech meimela. You find something, it's like almost like by accident. By accident. It's something that you didn't work for. But nevertheless, this type of the external part of the Torah, you do have to work for it. And even though what you receive is not is not commensurate to the amount of effort that you put in, but nevertheless, there is a ze'erich. There is something like the lottery. You did have to fill out this paper, right? You found the wallet on the street. You did have to walk. You have to, that shayach l'giyah didn't just fall into your hands. And if you would have made the same effort, right? You dug for gold or whatever, or you fill out the lottery and it was the wrong number, then you wouldn't get anything. So in other words, you had to do something. So this aspect of the Torah, which is called the external aspect of the Torah, it draws down an external blessing of God. And it is according to how much effort, or at least some effort, that you have to put in. Like it says, Ubakashta Misham. Torah, that what it says that you have to look for God there, it means mishum she'iyavshar limtso aveda, you can only find something that's lost in a place where it's not lost. You have to find. In other words, this type of a blessing that you get from learning the external Torah depends on your effort to a certain degree. To a certain degree. Which is not the case, which is not the case, this other type of blessing that you can get from the Torah, this comes down, hanimshach mi'atzmo, it comes on its own. This is called tala de bedulcha. It's called the white dew. Tala de natif mi'atika kadisha. This is what's called dew that drips down from a level called atik. A level of godliness which is totally not connected in any way to anything in the creation. She'atid lachayot et hametim. This is what's going to raise up the dead. I mean, maybe you might have a question if you ever think about this a little bit. You know, it's good, the world is nothing and God creates the world from nothing. But why did he do it? You know, why? What's the reason? Why did he make this big illusion that's called the world? So there must be some sort of a reason for this whole business, right? Where did this reason pop up from? Why, all of a sudden God had a reason. I thought God is infinite, he can't change. He has this reason. From where did this reason pop up in God's mind, the reason why he made the world? Why? So it says the reason comes from God's essence. That's the way it came. Another name for this essence is called the inside of Atik, the inside of God's crown is called. It says this is where the raising of the dead comes from. Now you have to remember, we've said it a lot of times, when God created the world, people weren't supposed to die. People were supposed to live forever. The reason man was created was to serve God. When you die, you can't serve God. What's the purpose of what's the good in dying? Man was created to serve God. And because he's serving God means, like we say, God is infinite. It's not the selfish business like all these other religions have. You know, you do this and you get a reward and you go to heaven and you got this. The idea God created man was the nature of man was to make the right choices. And to serve God, to make the right choices, but to make the right choices. Right? Like if you go to a hospital, you hope that the doctors over there always make the right choices. Come on, that's a little bit boring, isn't it? Of course not. Man was created to make the right choices all the time. That's what he was created for. Making the right choices means being connected to the infinite. In order to be connected to the infinite, you've got to be a little bit infinite yourself. Man was created not to die. That's what he was created. As soon as he did sin and he brought death into the world, so then the only antidote to this was he had to go back to the original source of why God created the world. And that original source is what's called the interior inside of Atika Kadisha. But it only depends on God. Just like God created the world in the beginning on his own, so also this level depends on God. God does whatever he wants to. To raise the dead, God decides. And that's what it says. This second level has nothing to do with us. It does not depend on us. It's not affected by us whatsoever. This is the level of godliness, which is the power to raise the dead. This existed before the world. It's above world. What? Okay.
You need a phone. This doesn't work. Don't worry about it. It's not working. I'm here.
All right. Do you hear me? Hello? What's happening?
Sounds like Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, hello.
Hello.
Greetings from the outside world. I heard that you're in the hospital.
Yes.
All right. Well, feel good. What is your mother's name, by the way?
Miriam Adel.
Tzvi Hirsch ben Miriam
No,
Adel.
it's
Okay.
Tzvi Halevi ben Miriam Adel.
Tzvi Halevi. Okay. Miriam Adel. Okay. Listen, Tzvi, Alevi, Miriam Edel, can you turn off your microphone over there? Because I can hear what everybody is saying. Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go. Therefore, it says, so this is the level that comes to Atid Lichiot to the Meitim. This is the level of godliness which will revive the dead. Bechinat Panimit the Torah. This is that's called the inner Torah. I mean, that's pretty weird, reviving the dead. There's never been anything quite like that everybody sort of rotted away. Even though it says that the Ezekiel enlivened all these, 20,000, 30,000 people, and God commanded him, and all the bones came together, and all the flesh came together, and all this stuff. So there was something like that. This is the level of the inside of the Torah, the raising of the dead. All of the dead are going to raise. And therefore it says, Tizal Katal, it says, drip down like dew my teaching. This is the part of the Torah that has this dew, which is going to raise the dead up. The inyan tizal u'milashan nozel. This whole idea of dripping down, tizal, this is like we say, mazel tov, mazel. Haynu shenimshach v'yored lamata mata, that when something drips down water, it drips down to the lowest place. Kamoshu b'makoro. And when rain, for instance, water, when it comes down to the lowest place, it's the same thing as it was when it's up in its source. It's water. V'shorsho b'chalinas mazal, and that's what the source of it is. The source is mazal. When rain is in its source in the clouds, it's still water. Maybe it's more, it's evaporated water, but it still is water. V'gilui b'china tal, this level of dew of the Torah that's revealed, this is not going to be revealed now. This is going to be revealed only in the future. This is not the same thing as rain. Rain, like we said, is brought down from above by means of us. Tal comes only by means of God, and this is going to be something which is going to be revealed in the future. It was revealed in Mount Sinai, and it will be revealed again in the future. It says that Mount Sinai also death ceased. There was no more death. That all the people that died in Egypt, all the Jews that were there in Egypt, 4/5, did they come back to life? I don't know. You didn't ask the question, so I'm glad you didn't, because I don't know the answer. All the Jews that lived. Anyway, in the future it will be that way, though. The Gila Bechina Tal Torah, this revelation of the dew of the Torah will be in the future. Like it says in the Emshech Adrush Shalom, like it says over there in this Mimor of, if I'm not mistaken, the second Lubavitcher Rebbe. So that's what the rabbis say. Kala Osik B'Torah, anyone who learns the Torah, Tal Torah Michayehu, the dew of the Torah enlivens him. That by means of us learning the Torah, Benigla, the revealed part of the Torah, now, Yumshach will be drawn down in the future, the inside of the Torah, Penimiyut the Torah, in the future. 1 minute, I thought that it wasn't going to be by means of our work. The Rebbe is going to explain this. Now you have to remember that we still have in our mind this question, why King David refers to this dew that's going to enliven the dead, and this dew, which was at Mount Sinai, which had no connection to the work of the Jewish people. It was something that was automatic, like dew is. The King David calls it rain, Geshem Nadavot. Why does he do that? This is only going to be answered near the end of the Maamar. Okay, suffice it to say that when a Jew learns Torah, there's all sorts of mechanisms and dynamics that are going on here that we have no idea of. So it's not just simply that you learn the Torah here, that gives you a place in the world to come. That could also be true. But what's going on right now is even more amazing. So the Rebbe says, by means of learning Torah now, it draws down the revealed blessing of God, which is called rain, and it also somehow or other stirs up this inner blessing of God, which is only going to be revealed in the raising of the dead. That's what the rabbis say. Last line, Mavur, like it's explained in another place. the Mimor Azal and the saying of the rabbis. Right, we're at the end of Dalit. Very good. Ashrei mi shabo lakan b'talmuda biyado. Happy is the one who comes to hear. We're talking about, in this case, after a person dies, Talmuda biyado, and he has his learning in his hands. In other words, what he learned in the Torah, he is with him. She'al yedei limud nigla the Torah, by means of learning Torah Talmudo now, zochin, you merit to the revelation of the secrets of the Torah. That's what King Solomon said right in the beginning of Shir HaShirim. God will kiss us with the kisses of his mouth. The Torah is God's mouth, and the inside of the Torah, the secrets of the Torah, that's God's kisses. And this will be the future. Torah chadasha me'itei, like it says in the future, there will be a new Torah. What does it mean, a new Torah? The Torah will never change. Not even one letter of the Torah will change. But the godliness, the feeling that we get from the Torah definitely will be revealed. Shegilui b'china Torah chadasha, that it will reveal this new aspect of the Torah, namely the dew of the Torah. This is going to be only in the raising of the dead. So that's what God gave us at Mount Sinai. At Mount Sinai, he gave us this dew of the Torah. This is the essence of the Torah that has the power to enliven the dead. And somehow or other, we stir this up every time that we learn Torah now. Paragraph Hey. So now we can understand, and you can feel this a little bit, especially when the Torah is being read. Something is happening. And this we can understand. Also the fact that this level of dew, who tal is dew, that's going to enliven the dead. Because what is this big novelty of the raising of the dead? Namely, shenimshach, it draws down from a level of an arousal from above. In other words, God does it on his own. This is totally above and beyond any than anything that we can do, any arousal from below. Okay, this idea of the raising of the dead is a very strange idea. And there's also different opinions about what's going to happen. But all the Kabbalists, the Ramban, the Arizal, they all agree that the raising of the dead is going to be that the bodies will raise up permanently. Some say the bodies will raise up. Everyone agrees it's going to be the raising of the dead. But some say that the bodies will raise up, they'll be judged, and then everybody will go back to heaven again. Which heaven is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with heaven. Don't get me wrong. Heaven is infinite bliss that we cannot possibly have any idea. If you roll up all of the pleasures of this world, there could possibly be with all the drugs and successes and things, all the pleasures in this world. It's not like one moment of heaven. The pleasure is so intense. And this will be eternal, infinite pleasure that we'll get all the time. That's pretty good, right? It says it is good, but it's nowhere nothing compared to the raising of the dead. The raising of the dead is God's pleasure. That's God's pleasure. It's Hashem's pleasure. The pleasure that God got from all of the service that we did the whole time, and something even greater than that, the arousal of the essence of God, why he created the world. What this is, I don't know, but that's the whole essence of Judaism. It shows us how important the Jewish body is. Why not just leave them up in heaven? What's wrong with that? Let the body rot. Who cares about the body? Leave the souls up in heaven. That's the main thing of the person, right? His soul. Leave the souls up in heaven, and that's it. He says, you're right. From our point of view, 100%. But God doesn't want it that way. The Jewish body is higher than the Jewish soul. So that's the whole idea of this arousal from above, this idea of dew that's going to enliven the dead in the future, and that's what was revealed at Mount Sinai, and that is what is contained every time that we learn the Torah. Like it explains in many places, Hachirush, the novelty, Vashino, and the great changes, the Tchiyat HaMeitim that will occur in the raising of the dead, Legabi Gan Eden, compared to heaven. This whole idea of the raising of the dead is much, much higher, if you can call it higher. It's a totally different ball game than Gan Eden, going to heaven. Going to heaven is like, one of these video games or something. You win a big jackpot, or who knows what they have, playing Monopoly. You win a big, I don't know if anybody plays Monopoly anymore. And going to heaven, the raising of the dead, that's like really winning. That's real reality. The raising of the dead is true reality. Going to heaven is what they call a ray of reality. This world, we don't see any reality at all. Right? We don't know what's going on. In this world, we have free choice, but we don't have any idea what the truth is. In the upper worlds, we have an idea of what the truth is, but we have no free choice. Right? Here in the upper worlds, you understand everything. You just can't do anything about it. Here in this world, you don't understand anything, but at least you can do something about it. We hear what the Rebbe tells us, etc. We read the Arizal. Says the Rebbe, what could be higher than going to heaven? Who doesn't want to go to heaven? All the religions in the world, billions of people are motivated by this idea that they're going to go to heaven. After you die, you're going to go to heaven. Maybe you get a little bit of a taste in this world. You're going to go to heaven. You're going to heaven. What about the other religions? They're all going to burn in hell. They're going to, it's terrible. Being our religion is going to be heaven. Heaven, hell, heaven. That's all people think about, right? Billions and billions of people. They have this religion, that religion. They fight big wars. They kill each other. They massacre each other because this guy doesn't believe what I believe in. So I'll send them to hell as fast as possible to minimize his suffering in this world because he hasn't got the truth. I have the truth. Everybody has it. What's the truth? Going to heaven. Well, the fact is, that's a big lie. Going to heaven is not the, going to heaven is a little bit of the truth. That's if what these guys say is the fact, or it's not a fact. The fact is that they're all, the religions are made up. But even if it was true, it really was the key to go to heaven, all these religions. And who knows, maybe their genuineness that they have and whatever they do, maybe there is some sort of reward they get. Obviously, it must be some sort of reward. God is okay, But it's not the real idea of heaven. The Jewish people have heaven. It says that the only people that really go to the real idea of the Jewish heaven, and we're talking about non-Jews also, if they do the 7 Noahide commandments according to the Torah. That's what it says. But nevertheless, I imagine a person that is really good, he gets some sort of, I don't know. That's not what we're dealing with. In any case, this whole idea of heaven, even the Jewish heaven, even the highest levels of the Jewish heaven, where they're sitting up there, the Tzaddikim, Moses and Moshe Rabbeinu and King Solomon and David HaMelech and Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the highest levels of heaven is absolutely nothing compared to the raising of the dead. Absolutely nothing. This is much higher than Gan Eden. Like it's said in the bracha of Yotzer of Shabbos, Ein aroch lecha, ein zulasecha, malkeinu l'chayil mabah. It said, and afterwards, the highest, it's the 4 levels we talk about in the daytime prayer of and Shabbos. Ein doma lecha mosheinu. There's nothing similar. After we talked about how great this world is, how great the next world is, how great, there's nothing similar to you, Mosheinu, our Savior, God, to the raising of the dead. Nevertheless, hine benogea legan Eden. What? The raising of the dead is infinitely higher than going to heaven. Nevertheless, not everybody gets into heaven. Heaven you got to work for. Benogea legan Eden, tzorech avodat adam. A person has to work, and he has to be, how do you say, he has to pass the test in order to get in. There is what a person does in his lifetime, and a preparation to go to heaven, and also heaven itself. A person says the souls have to go from level to level in heaven. From level to level. Because it says there's a pillar of truth that goes from one level of heaven to the next level of heaven. It raises up as a person. The whole idea of heaven is a person becomes more and more purified, his soul becomes higher. That's work. And not only that, not everyone goes to heaven. Some people go to hell. Like it says, Mishum shehu taloi ba'avoda. This all depends on the service of man. It says that there were chachamim. Who was it? They wanted to see their place in heaven. A guy named Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, "Show me my place in heaven." He stole the angel of death's sword and jumped over. They wanted to see what their place is in heaven. It says there were two chachamim. They went into the marketplace with Elijah the prophet. He said, "Show me who is a man of who was going to go to the world to come." And he pointed out two people that made everybody happy. They made everybody laugh. They're going to go to the world to come. So going to the world to come depends on service, and not everybody gets there. Not only that, it's even worse than you think. It could be, the Rambam says, that a person goes to heaven according to his service. If a person was a good person, he did good deeds, then he goes to heaven. If he did bad deeds, he goes to hell. What if he did some good deeds and some bad deeds? So it says, well, God weighs it out. If the majority are good, then he goes to heaven. If the majority are bad, then he goes to hell. But only God knows how to measure. So it could be that there's a person that he did bad deeds his whole life. And right before he dies, he helps an old lady across the street, or he gives $1 to charity or something. And God says, oh, this person went against his nature, go straight to heaven. And then there's another person that he worked hard all his life and did all sorts of things. But 1 minute before he died, he screamed at somebody, he screamed at his wife, get out of here, got mad. And God said, oh, a person like you should have known better, go to hell. So it says, only God knows how to measure. Kael Deus, he says, only God knows how to measure how you go to heaven and hell. So it could be a person who works his whole life and he gets hell, and another person, he does bad things in his life and he goes, we don't know. We don't know. So what's the answer? What are you supposed to do? Do as much good as you can and stop thinking about going to heaven. Let God, you're so lucky, you're just alive. God is creating us here. You're thinking about what reward I'm going to get. That doesn't make any sense. Right? It doesn't make any sense. But nevertheless, that is a certain motivation, for people. So you want to have this motivation, you have to know that going to heaven depends on your work. What you do. That's what you're obsessed with, going to heaven. It depends on what you do. It's your work. Masha'in came, which is not the case, and not everybody gets in, which is not the case. The raising of the dead, we learn, Kol Yisrael Yesh Lem Chelek Olam Haba. It says every Jew will raise up in the raising of the dead. Even though that it says over there it's in the Gemara, it's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. Kol Yisrael Yesh Lem Chelek, Perak HaChelek, Yesh Lem Chelek Olam Haba, and over there it says, except for these people that have no portion in the world to come. And it lists a bunch of people, Yerovam ben Navat, that says doesn't get a place in the world to come. Nevertheless, it explains in the Talmud, in the Yerushalmi, if you look in the Talmud Yerushalmi, in Kilayim, it explains over there that by means of the soul undergoing a refinement process, after he dies, Gam Heim Yeshuva L'Techiyah, it says even they will return to Omavur, and it's explained in the Tam Bazeh, Mishum, because the Gilo Eloku, so even the worst of the Jews will raise up in the raising of the dead. That's what it says here. Jews, not only they did no work to serve Hashem, they went opposite. Shebagan Eden, Mishum, Shagila, the revelation of Gan Eden, Shorshohu, Mibechinas Esutu Shutu Delayla. I mean, that could be their biggest punishment. They raise up in the raising of the dead, and they're sitting there with all these tzaddikim. What are they going to do with all these tzaddikim? They got these evil mafia guys and things like that. What are they going to do? They want to. Anyway, Hashem will figure it out. So nevertheless, going to heaven, not everybody gets, and you have to work hard. And the raising of the dead is automatic because it comes from such a high place that it doesn't make any difference to God. You're a Jew, you get in. Mishum, because the revelation of godliness, which is in Gan Eden, which is in what's heaven, Shorshu, it comes from what's called the arousal from above, which is drawn down by means of our work. Eteruta de la'ela, hanimshechet al yedei eteruta de latata, which comes from our efforts. That is called, another name for this, a Kabbalistic name is called Mimale Kol Olmim. It fills the worlds. What does it mean? We see in the Bible that God is a person. God talks to man, God gets angry, God is pleased. It says the eyes of God, the hand of God. God is a person. Abraham talks to God. He convinces the God, what if there's 50 people in Sodom, or there's 45? Will you destroy? God said, okay, I'll do it. So God's a human being. God's a person. A big human being, a spiritual human being, an infinite human being, but he's a human being. Right? God is something like that. That's one aspect. That's called mamali kalmim, how God fills up the world. This is God fills up the world like the soul fills up the body. That's one aspect of God. That's what's going to be revealed. That's what's revealed when a person goes to heaven. What we did, that's how God reacts. And therefore, it all depends on the service of man. But we all know that God is not a person. And it's even forbidden to think that God is a person. Masha Ein Kain, the revelation, which is the raising of the dead, this comes from the aspect, the true depth of God, if you want to call it that. It's called Soviv Kol Olmin. It defies all Olmin, defies all definition. Eteruta de la Eilish Elamaylam Eteruta de la Tata. This is an arousal from above which surpasses anything that we can possibly do in this world. This is God before the world was created, and that's is the same existence now. God creating the world did not have any effect on God whatsoever. We have no way of understanding this. Like we said a lot of times before, the world is really made from nothing. If it's made from nothing, so it didn't cost God anything. Therefore, this aspect of God, of the raising of the dead, this comes from what's the essence of God, which is above any sort of limitation or definition or how do you want to call it, the description. Even saying God is infinite is not the proper word. It's not infinite. Infinite means that he's not finite. It's not so. This contains all opposites. This aspect of God's Soviv Kolmim is also interested in everything that we do in this world. That's also Soviv Kolmim. Is not limited to being infinite. This is not incomprehensible. This is the aspect of God spoke to all the Jewish. Maybe you ever asked yourself a question. Why didn't any of these other religions, according to there's these professors, especially Israeli professors, they say that the whole idea of giving of the Torah and the whole thing was made up. It was all made up. That Moses made the whole thing up. The people, the Jews are a bunch of simpletons and they believe the story. For thousands of years, these religious people are just a bunch of yokels, and they just believe blindly this crazy story that God gave the Torah. No, okay, let's say that's true. Why didn't any other religion make up such a story? The Muslims and the Christians, they claim that they replaced Judaism. No, why didn't they make up a story? They believe this story. The professors, Jewish professors, don't believe it. But the other religions, they believe it. God spoke to the Jews. All the Jews heard it. They were all there. But, afterwards, God changed his mind. The Jews lost the Torah, whatever. Okay. No, why didn't they make up a story? They say, okay, God changed his mind. So why don't you say that God took out a billion heathens and said to them, listen, I've got a new testament to you. Or then after they take out 2 billion Bedouins and nomads and say, listen, I have a new Bible for you, the Quran. Why didn't God talk to everybody? So the answer is they can't conceive of a God that talks to everybody. What type of a God is that? That's like a cheap God. Talks to everybody? Who wants a God like that? We want a God that's like really, really high. He only talks to special people. Talks to our guy. Talks to everybody. Talk to all of the Jews. There's like 3 million people. I talk to everyone. Why isn't there any other religion that's based on this? So the answer is that this aspect of God, and it's totally above the spiritual, but on the other hand, is also involved in every detail of the physical. This is what's called Soviv Ka'olmi. This is above all comprehension, and this is the God of the Jews. That's Elokei Yisrael. That's why we say Ein Kelokeinu. There's nothing like our God. And this is the aspect of God that was revealed at Mount Sinai. And this is the aspect of God that's creating the whole world, including all the non-Jews, including all the idols that they worship. And this is the aspect of God that's going to raise the dead. Therefore, it does not depend on the service of man. All Yisrael, but all of the Jewish people, all the Jewish people have a portion in the raising of the dead. That's the world to come. This is the whole idea of the dew, which will enliven the dead. Like the rabbis say, that this level of the dew, this is drawn down by itself, without any arousal from our part from below. But we just finished saying that when you learn the Torah in the future, it brings down this revelation. So we do something. I mean, isn't there some sort of a connection or not? Or does it, the Rebbe on one hand says that we arouse this by learning Torah, and it's in the Torah. But on the other hand, he says it totally depends on God. It has no connection to what we do whatsoever. How do we reconcile this? Come back tomorrow and you will see.